and Tom Numbers. And we're going to talk about the things that are going on currently. And also we're going to go into the kings of old. So I'll just leave it at that because Janine is coming here blind. So we want her to come in blind. So she just comes in and goes, we say, Janine, look at this. And she goes, it'll be fine. It's great that way.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
So Tom, you're talking about, current events, like keep going.
Yeah. So something that came to my attention just today, and both you, Michael, and Janine may have already heard about this, but so President Trump is famously known for referring to China as China. China. Now everybody knows that in the world, China. So this was sent to me, and there's this whole thing of Ukraine, obviously right now, but there's a place in Ukraine called, and I may pronounce this incorrectly, it's called Spiel, China. You might be able to put it up on a map, but China is in Ukraine. And President Trump always said it came from China. So there's this whole thing of, the labs and everything else that's going on. I think it's okay to talk about it because people like Russell Brand are talking clearly about labs and biolabs, etc. So I think we're kind of getting a green light to be able to talk about it a little bit more fluidly, hopefully. But it's so interesting. If you do the numbers on Spiel, China, comes to 131, which is actually John F. Kennedy. But if you do the comma, or the apostrophe, I should say, the apostrophe, so it's Spiel, let me spell this right because I only discovered this afternoon. It's SHPYL, which comes to 80. And then China is 51, the way they spell it, CHYNA. Spiel is 80, Putin actually, but then China is 51, which is great, which is Michael, which is Jasara. Add them together as 131, which is John F. Kennedy. But then if you do the apostrophe, that's 133. That takes you all the way through to 264. 264 is London Bridge is falling down. And we know that's part of the code for when the Queen goes. Mm-hmm. And then if you add Ukraine to it, Ukraine is 79, which is also William, her grandson. It's also nature, it's also mother. But that comes to 343. It comes to President John Fitzgerald Kennedy. It comes to cricket legend Shane Warne, leg spinner. I've spoken in depth with Janine about him. President Putin invades Ukraine, comes to 343, comes to Spiel, apostrophe, China, Ukraine. And it also comes on a kind of galactic thing. It comes to the mothership, which is 164, plus the New Jerusalem 179. That comes to 343, which also comes to millennium, 1,000 years of peace, 343. So we've got a mixture of kind of markers of what's happening now on the dark side, also the light side, because we know the numbers marry up with each other. So I'm just wondering if maybe we could ask Janine the question, when President Trump was saying China, was he also referring to this location in Ukraine?
Good question.
Yeah, neat. So I think it's like the forces of good and light, bad and light are coming together. It's kind of like, when a storm, hot and cold comes together and they create friction, you get thunderstorms and lightning and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of like what we're having right now, I believe.
Exactly, Mike. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that looks like a yes. So he might have been saying both, not just one.
Yeah, I think so.
Get open. Maybe he didn't know exactly which one. Maybe they don't know exactly, but they just know it's coming from one of these laboratories that are doing this nefarious work. And we know that China has them. CHINA, China. We know now we know that the Ukraine has them, but we also know that apparently Taiwan has them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sort of things.
I didn't know that they'd come out, Janine. That's interesting because I saw from my remote view and I saw explosions coming for Taiwan. So that could be something, because a lot of the conflict that's happening in Ukraine is around those bioweapon or those labs. Let's just call them labs.
Labs, yeah.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Sorry, go. Yeah.
There's 4 places. So there's one more that hasn't come out. So I just named the 3 places, but there's one more that we're going to also discover soon, where they also have these labs. What just off the cuff, what came to my mind was somewhere in Australia.
Oh,
Wow. Janine,
that's so interesting.
I think you hammered it. It feels.
I think you
right
did,
on.
yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's going to come. Absolutely. No question about it.
You know what had just happened then, Janine, when you said about the 4th one and you underlined it on your card?
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard it, but we got an electronic echo in the recording. And I've noticed these are kind of almost like universal kind of indicators that we get during our episodes. And when you said there's a 4th one and you're up, it's kind of almost like a, and going back to Australia, we had the optics of Shane Warne, the cricketer, dying. He was Australian. And tying that into the Queen and all that's going on right now. So there's some interesting things. If you just do Spiel China, Ukraine, without the apostrophe, that comes to 210, which comes to the 4th of July, Independence Day, the 4th of July. Interesting enough, the 4th of July is day 185 of the year in the calendar, in a 365 day of the year calendar, which this year is 2022. Interestingly enough, Shane Warne died on the 4th of March, which comes to 185. 185 comes to Donald John Trump. 185 comes to global currency reset. I don't know if it will be as early as that, but I think it's indicating to it. The other thing about March 4th, if you just do March 4th, which is the same day that Shane Warne, the Australian, apparently died, that comes to what we've just said. It comes to it comes to Spiel China 131, which is John F. Kennedy. Wow. So I think that again was a marker on all of these things, how they're kind of all circumnavigate. And going to the Queen, this is very interesting. You mentioned about Taiwan. So a few months ago, Mike Pompeo did a famous, I think it was on Twitter, probably on Instagram as well, but definitely on Twitter. And he had a picture of him saying he was eating Taiwanese pineapple. A pineapple is 94, which we're going to come into a little bit later with your stuff with the Kings, Michael. Pineapple is 94, but the pineapple is 127, which is the ace of spades. Also, it's March Sunday. And I'm thinking, how many Sundays do we have left in March? There's not too many left. But one of them is the 27th of March. And if you do some further numbers on that, if you do 27th of March, that comes to 243. And 243 comes to Queen Elizabeth II. It also comes to someone that we all know in the Truth Movement, whose full name comes to 243, who kind of points me towards this. 86 is interesting because that's a powerful number. But the 86th day of the year is March 27th. So I don't know, I'm just putting it out there. But interesting enough, it's 23 days after Shane Warne passed on the 4th of March. And his number that he famously played in was 23. And everyone freaks out about 23. There are some good 23s because 23 is I am, which is the biblical kind of God reference, the God within reference. So there's some things that I've just seen in the last little while. And I thought I'd just put those out and see what you get on that, Michael, and what you get, Janine.
Do you want me to look at it in the cards?
Please, if you would. Yeah. Please.
Now, do we want to kind of formulate it into a real direct question?
Yeah, let's say, is there, I don't know, how about, that's a good point. How about, can we ask the cards, is it okay to ask specifics about when the Queen dies? And we'll see if we get a yes or no. If we get a yes, we can proceed further with it. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, that sounds good. Yep.
Yeah.
So my thoughts on that is she's already gone. They're just planning when that date.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, public announcement. That's it, Mark. Yeah.
Now, while Janine gathers her intelligence on this, what is the thought there in England when that event
Well,
does
yeah,
occur?
they're ramping
What's
it
going to
up. I mean-
happen there? Is it going to be traumatic there, or is it going to be everybody's okay, we're ready for this, or what happens
I
in
think they're
England?
drip feeding it, Michael, because they've been putting in the papers again. Oh, she's not well, and
Mhm.
she might not be able to make Philip's service. I guess when he passed last year. Yeah, was it last year or 2 years ago? I get confused now on how long we've been in this. But
Yeah.
they're saying she might not physically be able to get to his service, his memorial service.
Yeah,
Sorry, go on, Janine. Yeah.
I saw that. Yeah. Also, there's rumors out of China, speaking of China, that
China.
a whole bunch of, what was it, flags were ordered from some
saw that.
place in China, right?
Yes.
And they have her, birth year and this year marked as her passing. So there's going to be these British flags with her face on it being made. They're already being made in China. So they already know when they're going to put it out there, obviously, right?
Yeah.
And so that word was out in China that she'd already passed, like officially, the official announcement of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Michael pointed out, she's long gone as far as
Yes.
sort of a lot of people think. Anyway,
Yeah.
now see that 6, none of this looks like a bad idea to talk about it.
Okay.
It looks like it's a perfectly friendly thing to ask about.
Okay.
So,
Let's do it then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's do it. Yeah, none of that looks like a big no. There's certain cards. that
Okay.
would be
So let's have
Okay.
a look. Yeah. So, I mean, even if you do, I said the 4th of March equals 185. 185, when you spell it out, comes to 243, which comes to Queen Elizabeth II, March 27th. Yeah,
So even the cards are saying it already happened.
good.
So it's already happened. Yep. And they've kept it a secret. So that's a passed over secret. It's been a secret.
Mhm.
So I guess the universe wants to be really clear about that. It's coming out in the next 6. So within 6, I'm sure they have a few days they could, you know what I mean? Because it's like chess, like 5D chess. And it's
Uh-huh.
sort of like all based around, I don't think they have this is the day we're going to do it. That's probably why they're getting those flags done. And
Okay.
they're all ready. I'm sure they're all been ready for a long time, but this card says you're going to hear about it within 6. So that could be days, could even be hours with swords. Hours, days, or weeks. But swords
Wow.
don't go into months or years. It's shorter than that. Hours, days, or weeks.
Okay.
Soon, like it's coming out. This card is literally about information coming out. Swords are thoughts and words. And this guy's pushing out of troubled water into clarity. It's coming into
Yes.
clear water. We're going to hear about it really soon here, I'm thinking.
That's interesting that you say 6, because the word 6 equals 52, which comes to heart, and the whole thing of heart attack with Shane Warne on the 4th of March. And the other thing about it is, if it is the 27th of March, I've heard that they'll have 10 days kind of mourning until the funeral in the protocol of London Bridge. London Bridge is 119. 119 is Nikola Tesla's redemption. His leg spinner that Shane Warne was. But that would take you to the 5th of April, Tuesday, 5th of April. And Tuesday is 95, which equals the Queen. And here in England, the new financial year starts on April 6th.
Wow.
So I'm wondering, because I'm just wondering if, I guess we'll see, time will tell, but there's some interesting numbers that kind of point to it. And from what the cards are saying, we'll see what happens.
If it does come in 6 days, that makes it the 19th
Yeah.
of March. So that's interesting. Because what are we, 13th today? Of March?
Yeah. So six days would be a Sunday again. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's Sunday. That would be, where are we? Oh no, Saturday, 6 days. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 20th. Well, it depends if you include today as the 6th day. Yeah, it could be the 19th or tomorrow. 6 plus 6 is the 20th. So could be, yeah. Have you got any thoughts on why Prince Harry was dressed up as a clown, an orange clown, in the newspapers here in the UK?
Wow,
Janine.
that's interesting. Well,
Yeah.
Well,
that sounds like
orange, the prison color.
That's a good point, Michael. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Good
And
one.
clown, like clown clone, the whole.
Yeah. Well, he has him and the whole idea of Megan. I mean, they're a psyop at this point. Their relationships just fake. It's all been faked. Everything about them is fake. And it even literally came out like as literal as it could get nowadays in the way the mainstream media is, like nothing really, you can't trust anything they say. But it came out as clear as day that they faked the first child's birth. Okay. Obviously nobody's even seen hide or hair of the second one, supposedly. Some second child, like the rumor is, of course, that they never really did have any kind of life together. That was all faked right from the get-go. Just a big psyop. So the whole clown, and then of course the orange, like Michael said, that makes sense with the orange. But let's see what the universe says about it, because obviously he's part of the white hat op at this point. I think they own his image. I think they are utilizing those two, the story of them, and people that actually still think they're real is like, wow. You got to be really not too bright to actually think, like anything you see out there, every single time she's different every time. She literally looks like, well, she goes from being, now they made her really chubby for a while there, which Megan would never do. Like if you saw her whole life leading up to there, she's already in her 40s, you know what I mean? So she would never do that. That would that would never happen. Anyway, and they just presenting it so in your face. I can't understand why people aren't seeing through it. I mean, but let's have a look. So Harry might be long gone. What were you saying, Michael?
Well, I was going to say that all the stuff you've been doing on, Harry is very interesting. So it kind of leads me to believe that maybe we're seeing the end of the monarchy. What do you think, Tom?
It feels that way, Mike. It does. I mean, you might have been aware of this, but during 2020, there was a black mark on the front of the palace, meaning one of the crests had been taken down. So it was like crestfallen. And it was a symbolic mark, very similar to how President Trump would walk in front of the Queen and, the Pope and all the people he served notice on prior to 2020. Well, there was a mark, a deliberate one, taken off of the Buckingham Palace. I mean, very early on my YouTube channel on Site Club, I filmed it, and you can see it, and people will look at the papers and the news articles, and it says a lorry backed into it. Now a lorry doesn't go through one of the front gates of Buckingham Palace. They go the tradesman entrance, and so that wasn't true. And then they said they took a long time to get the pieces together. That was a professional taking down. It was it was a black mark. It was a blackboard, and it was put up professionally, and it was there for the best part of a year. It's back up now. The only person or only media reference that ever focused on it, none of mainstream media touched it, and it was there for a long, long, long time. Tom Cruise, interesting enough, has a Twitter page, and he very rarely tweets. But back in 2020, he went to the film Tenet, which I always refer to, a Christopher Nolan film, and he's in a black cab. He's in a taxi, and his cab, as he's filming, drives past the palace and shows the black mark. And that's the only public news outlet that I've been able to see that featured it at all. Like no mainstream media other than Tom Cruise's Twitter. So I do think, I think it is the beginning of the end, Michael, for sure.
Yeah. And tens in tarot are endings. And this card's really interesting because it's that whole idea of, notice how nice the card looks. It's an illusion. So the card's an illusion. So at the end of the illusion, maybe it's really just been a clown show, especially Meghan and Harry. They've been a clown show. I mean, think about all the antics they supposedly got up to. Come on. It was so funny. It got to be absurd. So that's what that looks like. I think that's right on. It's the end.
So interestingly, what started this, Tom, was our discussion on Richard III.
Yeah.
my connection to Richard III. And how I was in Libya when it came to me, yeah, you're Richard III. I'm like, I don't get that, and then it just kept coming. And then finally I told you a story how, I was at home in Sedona. I was like, getting stabbed. I was like, oh, that's real. Okay. I was Richard III. And I felt every one of his sword wounds.
Wow.
And then I said, okay, I was Richard III. Stop. And it stopped. And the next day they found they recognized that they had found Richard III. So that whole time that I was in Libya and was getting that I was Richard III is when they were looking for his body, and they had found a body, and it had like sclerosis or whatever, or the spine a little bit.
Yes.
Now, when I look remote view all that, what happened is when I was born, it was a hard birth, and they twisted me to get me out, and it tweaked my spine. So when I was born in this life, I was born breech. And when I looked, I was like, why is that? Because you didn't want to injure your spine again. I was like, whoa. So, because everything was lining up for me to like get the reveal in this life, because it'd been blocked. That was a block, in the past lifetime, scheme of, understanding stuff. So when it came through this lifetime, I was like, wow. And then it was like all the king lifetimes we're going to go through is like, after the Richard III block was taken away, it was like all these lives just started pouring through. It was like the dam was busted. It was pretty cool. But wow. Richard III was a legitimate line of kingship. And what happened when Henry VII came in, I think it was Henry of Bolingbroke or whatever what his name is, but when he came in, he married Elizabeth of York, who was my brother's daughter. And that gave him legitimacy to the throne, but it was not real. It was not a real legitimacy. So you look at the line from Henry VII all the way to Elizabeth II. Pure illegitimacy of the throne all the way to now. And now it's going to be cleaned. That's what I think.
Wow.
Yeah. You're right. It's interesting, actually, there, Michael, and just something that Janine mentioned just prior to when we went on to the King's part. She end of the illusion. Illusion is 111. It's perfection, but it's also illusion. So there's the other side of it. End of the illusion is 188, which comes to President Kennedy, comes to Close Encounters, comes to Show Me the Money, but it comes to. So right at the beginning, when we went into lockdown, there was the C virus. So if you do the word C, I'm not going to say it, but we probably could say it, but people know what it is. So if you do the C virus, it comes to 188, which is the end of the illusion. So that was very interesting that Janine mentioned that. I wanted to put that out. There's something that's come up here with Richard III for you, Michael. Richard III. Richard is 61. It's a miracle. There's 33 magic. 30 is 59 Joker, like the top card, the trump card. That comes to 153, which comes to Great Swan event. So we've been looking for a Great Swan event to kind of flip everything. It also comes to John Kennedy Jr. So there's another reference to that. And there's also another reference to the Kennedys throughout this. And even, End of the Illusion, the 188, President Kennedy. One of the ones that, we'll go through all of them, but one of the ones that did stand out to me was, and I didn't know this name, but the Black Prince, Alexander the Great. So Black Prince,
that's right.
Alexander the Great.
Did I tell you that? Oh, what? Oh, that's in my notes. Okay, yeah, cool.
Yeah, that you forwarded on, and so on, and but Black really interesting because Black is 29, Prince is 65, and if you add those together, that comes to 94, which comes to John. It also comes to pineapple, and we referred to that earlier with the con that Mike Pompeo has been given about the Taiwanese pineapple, and you're the one that brought up the thing about Taiwan, because President Trump has been saying, you watch next is Taiwan. So even just in those two, you've got a big connection with the Kennedys from those names. Richard III, 153, John Kennedy Jr., and Black Prince is 94, John John. It also makes me, and I know you love the superhero movies, so, and comic books, and so Wonder Woman is 135, which is numeral woman. So her kind of equivalent of Clark Kent is Diana Prince. And it always made me think of, Princess Diana, but it's not quite. It's Diana Prince. Diana's black, 29, but it's the same Black Prince. So Diana Prince is 94. Again, it's John John. And I'm like, that's so interesting. It's like all these characters kind of living, witness protection, living, historically living, passed on, and even in our kind of popular culture, they all interconnect. If you can see the kind of pattern, if you can see the trajectory. So already off the bat, two of them have a big connection with the Kennedys. Yeah, I don't know what Janine's got on some of those, or those two. Maybe Richard III. What does she see with him and Alexander the Great, the Black Prince? Yeah.
Well, I laid some cards out when you guys were talking about Richard III and Michael being Richard III in another lifetime.
Yeah.
And I got, he didn't know, he was protected from knowing his past lives for a while at the beginning of his lifetime. So I'm not sure when it started really opening up, but there was a reason you were protected and also being hidden this lifetime by wise ones from our future selves. You were being hidden and protected because if people knew, everything you're bringing, you'd be a target. So that's interesting. Yeah, but you're safe now.
That's good, Janine, because my wife Tracy is over here dancing because she used to tell me this, that I was protected like that. That's funny.
Yeah, you were protected. And I get it's time to know everything.
Yeah.
It's time to come out of the not
because
knowing.
it was cool, Janine, when they revealed, because I was like, I wasn't that bad of a guy, in any life, and I didn't connect with it. And then when they revealed that was where he was found, then all the truth came out that no, they did a hack job on him to make him look bad, so they give more legitimacy to these usurpers that came in and took the throne.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So you were almost like a link there, where the link kind of got broken.
Mm-hmm.
And you would know if you connected with those past lives, you'd know the truth. You might be dangerous to that bunch.
Very cool.
But I think so you were protected from knowing until it was time to know.
Yeah. I think that's an important thing to know as well. Now, once we go down this list of names, we come to Charles II. Now, Charles II, his father, Charles I, was basically beheaded, and they did away with the monarchy back then. And then they got tired of the guys that took over the monarchy. It was basically the deep state took over. It was a city of London, and the people were like, "No, we want our king back. This is not working out." So eventually, Charles II came in with the help of the Scots, and he regained the throne. But Charles II somehow knew that the little boys that supposedly Richard III killed, he was the one that found them. So he must have been having a past life connection or some kind of just knowing. So sometimes, as we know, sometimes intuition comes through, we don't know. But I have a feeling that he might have had the connection. So he just happened to search in the Tower of London and found the two little boys' bodies that had been hidden behind some masonry.
Wow. Yeah, I think you're right. So that's not doing the dirty, that's comes upon. See, that's a surprise. This guy has a surprise. Everybody's looking over here, but the thing's over here. Somebody discovers it. That was the card that was coming up for this fellow we were asking about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that makes sense.
Wow.
That he didn't do the thing, because we have the devil, the magician or some kind of tricky card.
Mhm.
But a violent card. But this would be like just discovering it. He wasn't even like, nobody was looking there, it feels like. Maybe they even knew not to look there. Maybe they were even being, it almost feels like he wasn't in on the plot at all.
Yeah. Richard III definitely wasn't. They basically came in and killed the two boys because he was basically in a kingship until one of those boys reached the age where he could take over the throne, because he was his father's son. So in the line of succession, it should have been the boy that had it. So Richard was protecting him because he knew, because Richard III, in my memories of Richard III lifetime, when I finally started to delve into them, was that they poisoned his and killed his children, and he knew that. And so there's a lot of that, as you know, we've talked about, as everyone probably knows, it's not a lot of fun to be in those positions of power. I mean, look at President Trump, how hard they went after him. So it's not glory. It's a lot of hard work, and people try to kill you, and it's not fun. So you have to really be on your toes. So I believe that he knew they killed his children. I think he lost a wife, and then he had another wife who was corrupt, and he divorced her because he knew that she was corrupt eventually. So they come in and do all this dirty stuff, and it takes, like we're finding out now, hundreds and hundreds of years to find out about it and disclose it sometimes.
Yeah, there's some I'm going through them in sequence, Michael, and there's some interesting numbers that correlate again. So I've made the numerical connection with these previous kings, on yourself and the Kennedys. So the first one on the list is Alfred the Great. Again, that comes to 130, which is the Kennedys. Also, actually, interesting enough, comes up to Scott McKay, who put you and me together. So if you're listening, Scott, Alfred the Great, 130, the Kennedys. This is really interesting. So the second one on the list is Canute the Great. Canute is 64, which is Tenet, the film that I referenced earlier. Yeah. 64 is also Israel. It's also Zion. It's also movie. And we've been told by Q that it's a movie. So Canute the Great Movie. I didn't figure that out. The Great Movie. Okay, comes to 148, which comes to simple gematria, which is what I'm doing. Comes to time traveler, and it also comes to Donald J. Trump. So Donald J. Trump comes to Canute the Great, and the Great Movie. So there's a connection there. William the Conqueror. William is 79. The 33. Conqueror is 126. 126 comes to John Connor, Sarah Connor for the Terminator films. Comes to our friend 107, 126. That comes to 238. Interesting enough, that's referenced in the Terminator films. It was 1997 when they say that everything kind of kicked off in 1997. And then Henry I. There's two ways to do that. Henry is 70, same as Harry, interesting enough. So here in England, Henry and Harry are synonymous. They're kind of a nickname of each other, but they got the same value. It's also secret as well. And like Janine was talking about with Prince Harry, Henry. So if you add a 1 to it, that's 71, which is Diana, Lady Diana. It's my channel site club. But if you do Henry first, it's 142, which is I am Nikola Tesla. And then Henry II, 72, or second is 60, again 130. So Henry II comes to Alfred the Great, 130, the Kennedys. And then Edward is 55. Edward is 55 is a military signal, as you'll know, Michael. And 55 is also JFK JR, which is 555. It's Melania, it's heaven, it's sky. But Henry I, 56, which is light, which is April, which we're coming into. First light will be April 1st. But if you just do first 72, which is also money, JFK JR 55, it's 127, which is the ace of spades, which takes us back to that possibility of the Queen on the 27th of March. That's 327, but the possibility of 127, the ace of spades. So that's some more thoughts. I don't know if any things resonate with you in regards to that, and anything that Janine seeing with the cards.
Well, I just want to mention a story I got here. So early
Yes.
on, when you were talking, I laid out some cards, and something just wanted to come through. And it was a
Okay.
message for Michael for his book he's writing, is what I get. So this could help his book. So something's going to come out that was like chronicled at the time. So somebody took meticulous notes about what was really going on all around that time, that we were just talking about, with the boys being, taken out, and who really did it and how it really happened. It was all chronicled, and it got, when things were going down, they sent with some, unbeknownst to him, kind of just a page boy or something, to a different country. So I get Germany, and I don't know why, but I got Germany. They sent the chronicle or the papers, and it's been hidden. And the first people that hid it were a group of nuns there. I just got that in my head, these nuns, or some kind of religious sect of women. And, but it's been hidden there, and I feel like it's going to come out. So I feel like there's the information will come out, and it's time for all of this stuff to get cleared up, because most of our history is a lie.
Excellent. Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, and I got that feeling too. And a little bit of research that I did, Janine, was similar, where there was some of that information went overseas. It got support from different groups. They tried to come back and regain the throne, but it didn't work out. So now we're left with, and then Shakespeare came in and made Richard III look even worse than than they'd already, built him out to be. So it was basically hit job after hit job after hit job. Now I helped write those Shakespearean plays, and one of those plays was going to be a reveal, and the Shakespeare Theater burned down before the play was played. So,
Of course.
yeah. So these guys have been at work for a while. We're still battling them.
Yeah.
Can we ask that about Shakespeare? That's fascinating. Was Shakespeare? What does the card say about Shakespeare, Janine? Was he?
We did that, didn't we, Michael? We did that on a show, Michael and I. We looked into a Shakespeare. I can't remember. That was a long time ago. Pretty sure it was with Michael. I looked at it.
Mm-hmm.
And we got that. I'll look at it again. But what we got was, it was a group of people, right, including a husband-wife team. But there were several people involved in writing.
That's my memories too. Mm-hmm.
They came together. Yeah.
So it was a group.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, look at the information that came through. It's like, it's stunning. I mean, the way it's written, it's like, and William Shakespeare was barely literate at all. And I don't even think he could write. So it's
really,
yeah. And there's been a lot of stuff on him. And there's no way one person could have written all that work.
Yeah.
It's
and
absolutely impossible.
Off-world help. So that's new. We didn't get that last time, but maybe we weren't ready to hear it yet. That was a year and a half ago or something. But yeah, they had off-world help. So they got a lot of that, might have been even channeled information that a group was channeling, and they turned it into all of those incredible writings.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you brought that up, Janine, because when I look throughout time and all these different lifetimes, that we've always had generation after generation after generation connection to, star beings. It's not, everybody thinks, oh, we're just getting that now because we're evolving or whatever they're thinking. But no, they've been around for millennia, coming in and different, and depending on the the, advancement of the civilization they work with, they come in a little bit stronger. I think now they're coming in probably stronger than they have since Atlantean times.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Can we have a look, Janine, at the question or the feel with Michael in regards to being Richard III and possibly these other kings that we've been having a look at? Like, can we get any additional information, confirmation, insight on that?
Yeah, so he's been denying it for a really long time for some reason. And it might have had something to do with maybe, well, it's hard to say, okay, I might have been several lifetimes, I might have been really famous or a king or whatever, or many kings, right? But the time's up for that. So we've got 210, so the time's up to be in denial. And then fourth, so he's been at least 4 kings is what I get.
Wow.
So at least, yeah. So we've got 6 and the world. So, 6 is take a step around. It's just like sometimes humans don't want to believe things about themselves, because think about how we're brought up.
Yeah. You shouldn't be so. Yeah.
I know not everybody's. Some of us haven't been kings or queens. Some of us have, and that's okay. None of that matters. It's all about connecting with your past lives, because you've had a series of lessons. But somebody had to be those kings, and so those people.
True.
They had to be them. You
That's
know
true.
what I mean? Like I had that experience a couple of times when Michael and I would do videos together, and you'd ask Michael, you'd ask me to ask the cards about, was I this? You had got some downloads about who I was, and it literally made me cry on the show, because it was so. Well, I felt so honored.
Yeah.
Have been these energies, but like humans don't understand. We're magical. And even our really simple lifetimes are really important. And some of them were really hard. Sometimes we weren't the nicest people. We had to learn the hard way things. All of it's worthy. And worthiness is what stops us from just owning. If you feel something like that in your
Worthy,
heart, there's a reason for it. There's a reason. It's okay to be, that's okay to be that.
Can I ask you a question, Janine?
Sure.
Were you a queen in the past? I mean, you're the queen of tarot as far as I'm concerned, but were you a queen like Michael was a king? I
don't know. No, Michael didn't get I was a queen, but he did get that I'd been a famous psychic and even helped.
Yes, he told me that. Yeah.
A lot of royalty, which was really, really interesting. But let's have a look. Literally, was I a queen, just for fun?
Yeah, let's have a look.
Yeah, the people in the background played, just as important role as the kings and queens, and very strong. If you had a good crew behind you, you would win. So
exactly.
Janine's been part of that winning process in many lifetimes.
Yeah. So I don't think I was literally, but I helped a lot of. So I was a help. I was, let's say, counsel to a lot of really important kings and queens. Right. So I would have been in the courts counseling, which is exactly what Michael got. Like he got that. And that's the part that was so fascinating. So this doesn't look like I literally was, but I was definitely counseling them, because this person's really close to, and might even be like somebody who's in the council of, or in the courts giving wise wisdom or whatever. Yeah. So I don't think I was literally, from what I'm seeing there.
Were you one of Michael's team when he was king on those 4 occasions, at least?
Some of them for sure. Because
we looked at the Medici, and Janine was there for like like I think almost like 4 generations.
Yeah, the Medici, yeah.
She lived a long life, but she was the Medici. They had something going on that helped them get that edge, and so someone like Janine, plays that role. If Janine was the queen. Yeah. And she said this stuff. This is what I see in the cards. Everybody be like, stoner, it's like, but if it comes from the back and the king goes, yeah, I got this. My team and I, we came up with this idea, but it was Janine's like, this is what you should do.
Yeah.
So that's the way it's played out, a lot of times. Because I look like I have the story where I say, yeah, guys, we're not going down this road right now. And they were like, what? And then boom, and then I'd say, yeah, and a week from today, there's going to be a big explosion in this area. And everybody's like, I don't believe what you're doing, but if it, and it would happen just as I say. And so and people are like, I don't understand. I don't believe this stuff, but hey, if it happened, if you get something, tell us, so that's kind of the way it is, with someone that's really tapped in, like Janine. I mean, we all love Janine. She's like tapped in, so when you have that ability, you can really, take consciousness to a different level. And like Janine was saying, you doubt, Mike. It's like, you're right, I do. But when you come in with it, I don't doubt it as much. Yeah. And maybe I just completely accept it and then move to a different level with it. And that's what happens. Yeah. So that's the beauty of, I can see things intuitively. Janine can see things intuitively through the cards. Tom, you see things intuitively through the numbers. So, the trio of us, working together, like we've done on this show, we can bring out tremendous amounts of information within an hour, that blows people away and takes consciousness to an unbelievable level in an hour. Imagine if school was like this.
Yeah.
I know. School for the X-Men, for the gifted.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Professor Xavier.
But all humanity is like this. They did purposefully dumb down in school.
Yeah.
I didn't do all that well in school, but I did well in the things that I liked and things that I saw, this is right. And I would like, A+, and then they start talking stupid. I'm like, and then, you feel that, and then bring my grades down. But, I could see the stuff that was real, the stuff that was interesting and informative, and the stuff that was just crap,
Yeah. Janine, can I ask a question? So my initials are TSB, which come to 41, comes to USA, and I'm here in England, but it comes to USA, but it also comes to the word king. And Michael has mentioned this word a few times. He's talked about kingship. Kingship is 93. It comes to Olympic, it comes to Flotus, but it comes to Bushnell, my last name. So I'm just curious, was I a king of some description, or was I around a king and helping a king and his kind of, his team?
I definitely get you were noble and you were involved a lot in England.
Yeah.
Yes. We got a big yes. And we've also got the magician around it. So that's interesting. Let's keep looking here.
Huh.
Okay. So that was in the background. So it had something to do with the Celts, Irish, Scottish, or British, because this guy's what we call the Celt. So you were, yes, a Celt king from a really long time ago, because this was in the past. So it was a really long time ago. And I get your crown was copper, pounded out. And it looks copper when I see it. It's shining like copper. Okay, there was a lot of magic around. So it was in the time of before the Inquisition, and magic was afloat and lots of spell casting and trickery. I get, there was all kinds of, so it was before they were repressing that, would have been before the Inquisition times. So that's how long ago it was. Druids walking around, I'm getting like things were just getting settled in different colonies with Druid people, pagans. You had your Danes, roaming around, attacking villages. Like I'm getting that kind of a scene. Things were pretty wild, but you were like, and I'm getting, you're wearing furs, and I got a piece of fur here. You got something really shiny, but it's not silver or gold. It's a metal that's sort of orangey colored.
Wow.
I get that you're before Alfred the Great. So there were kings and queens before Alfred the Great, because there's people that are recognized as the first kings and queens, but they go way before that. So I get that you were before that, and look around King Arthur time frame, because he was way back. That was after the fall of the Roman Empire. So think, like Janine's talking about, things disintegrated.
Yeah.
So imagine England disintegrating,
Mhm.
during the 100 years ago. That would have been
Yeah.
traumatic. And or America disintegrating right now, that'd be traumatic for the world. It'd like take the world down a notch. So
Wow.
that's what happened when Rome fell. So England got hit pretty hard.
Yeah.
Wow.
You had a really good, so this might help you find out who it was. You had a really good marriage to a queen that you loved very much, which was rare. You
Huh.
weren't unhappy with your marriage. You were known to be in love with your wife, which is pretty rare back then from what
That's nice to have, isn't it?
right? Yeah. And you guys had a daughter
Okay.
and you had a couple of children that didn't make it past infancy, but you had one daughter that grew up. So, wow. That I don't know if that'll help, but
Definitely a warrior. I get the warrior. So
Wow.
back then, if you're king, you had to be a warrior. So,
Yeah.
you had to hold your ground.
yeah. Yeah.
Is there anything that you know that the last episode we did, Janine, you mentioned the park I go to, Regent's Park here in London. Regent's is 88 Trump Park.
Yeah.
Comes to 134, which comes to King plus Bushnell, actually, interesting enough. I just worked out. But what is the specialness or significance of this place? Because it doesn't seem like a coincidence that I'm living in this area during this time of the Great Awakening.
Oh, crazy. Okay, so you had a really amazing spiritual experience there physically. So
Wow.
you physically were on that ground and something really spiritual happened. Let's keep looking. You had lost some people you really loved and cared about. You went on a quest where you traveled. I'm just getting it like kind of just coming out my mouth. You went on a quest. You ended up right on that spot somewhere in the park and you had a profound awakening. It's like you got a message from the universe, how things really work. So you didn't feel so sad. You realized there was life after death. You might not have known it before that because that's fairly new to the consciousness. A lot of it takes a lot of spiritual work to even figure that out, right? Yeah. And it changed everything. So you had this spiritual experience. You had lost people you really loved, including somebody like a wife or a partner, and there's a lot of energy around you and soul connected others. That's really important to you, really finding a soulmate. You're very specific and particular. You've been lifetimes where you'd wait the whole lifetime just for one person. Like you're not frivolous with your love. And that comes from those kind of lifetimes where you really, it's important for you. It's not always everybody's list. They have to find that one other. It's not always the experience, but that is. Anyway, you changed everything after that. And a lot of things changed for the better once you came to that spiritual realization. So the park might be a spiritual, magical place for you. And there's a spot there. You'll find it.
Wow, thank you. I got goosebumps with that. Thanks.
Good. Janine and I did a show and we talked about Stonehenge and Avebury, and I have memories of like levitating some of those stones, and Janine confirmed that in one of our shows together. So people were asking, I see it in the chat, people were asking who were the Druids. So the Druids were that group, and they're all over France, they're all over England, Scotland, all the pretty much everywhere. At Germany, Germanic tribes, and up into where the Vikings were in Norway. Everyone was pretty much Druid, and that was you're very close to the land. There was spirituality on a level that we can't comprehend at this point because it's been so dumbed down, so taken down.
Yeah.
But there are remnants of that still, because we see here in just below Miami, I just visited again. There's a guy that basically levitated coral. It's called Coral Castle, and levitated these coral castle blocks, and so that's what the Druid they knew how to do that. The Buddhists still know how to do that. There's groups that still know this information. Yeah. It's the same thing they use for the pyramids and all. So everyone looks at the Egyptian pyramids. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of pyramids all over the world.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, but it's from this. They had those abilities. So if you're
Yeah.
spiritual, which I have lifetimes during that time frame too, Tom, where you weren't just a warrior.
I'm sure we
you're
used to
also
go to battle
spiritual.
together, Michael.
Yeah, I think all three of us have been, together in those realms, repeatedly. So yeah, it wouldn't be surprising to me if you said, yeah, you guys were like, together, because I already know I've been with Janine in many lifetimes. So if Tom, you were there, that wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. I feel you were. So it's just a discovery period at this point. And I don't feel like, like all the people that I work with, I can see stuff like Janine sees stuff, but she doesn't tell everything, because
People, like 5%. Well, you only say 5%.
It's like Janine was saying, you weren't ready for that. It's like, so that's the way some people are, like we're talking this stuff and some people are like, these guys are loonies, but some people are like, oh, wow, this is stuff I've been waiting for all my life. And then some people are like, yep, I get that. And so, there's different levels of this consciousness. But I think that once you go into these realms, it enlightens you on every single aspect of your whole life. Mm-hmm. So that's the beauty of doing the work that, we're all doing and sharing this information with others.
It's powerful. It's really powerful. If I've spelt it right, Michael, you said about levitating. If I've spelled it right, I've just done it once. I believe it comes to 119, which is Nikola Tesla. And stone is 73, which is Britain, which is United, which is Kingdom. Janine, you talked about the park. And you talked about when I was a king, many kind of almost maybe, it sounds like maybe 1,000 years or so ago, but the Regent's Park experience, I'm feeling it might be maybe, a couple of lifetimes ago, maybe sooner. It could be incorrect. I'm just wondering if there's any kind of pointers on a time frame of when when I was in Regent's Park, please.
Yeah, it wasn't as long ago as the other.
Yeah.
Because we got a page for it. So we could even say 2 lifetimes ago.
All right.
I don't think time travels quite the same way we think it does. But if you want it in that way to look at it, it was definitely not in the time of the Druids. It was after that. And not that I'm even thinking like just before World War II is what comes to my mind.
Really? Okay. That's so interesting, because you did a piece with Huna a few months ago and you connected me with Ivanka, saying me and Ivanka were married 2 lifetimes ago. And Michael, just after you did that piece just 5 minutes ago, Janine, Michael, you said the phrase levitating stone and or stones, but stone, I looked at that. Levitating stone comes to 192, which comes to Ivanka Marie Trump. And that was immediately just after you did that piece, Janine. And so I'm just wondering, maybe, I don't know if that was the same period. Is that the period that you referred to previously with me and Ivanka, or is that slightly different time period?
Well, that would kind of make sense, because whoever it was you lost was like your soulmate. You thought it was a soulmate.
Huh. So
you lost somebody, but I feel like a reoccurring theme of really loving and just having that one.
Yes.
And so I don't know what you think, like love life wise. I don't know. Right. But I do believe in the fairy tale for sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. On a soul level, you have that kind of, and not everybody does. It's all about what experiences you come from.
Yes.
Right. Like I'm really funny because I would give up any kind of love connection for the work I do. I'm brutal. Like I'll be like, no, you're in my way because I got to do this. My first love is doing exactly what I'm doing right now.
Were you always like that? Were you young?
I was a silly, hopeless romantic and got burned a lot because I was a chaser. Like being a female this lifetime and a warrior chaser, like I would chase down all these I'd pick the most warrior guy in the room who doesn't want to be chased by a female. Yeah. And I'd go chasing after that warrior and they'd deny me because it wasn't their idea.
Yeah.
I managed to talk a few of them into having a relationship, but then I drop it as soon as it was getting in the way of my work. So I just love life is just funny for me, but everybody's different. Like it's all about their lifetimes of experience. And you
Yeah.
definitely have lifetimes of having that one that was really special. So you seek it out.
Yes.
It's embedded in you. So it's very likely that could have been that one, especially since we said it was 2 lifetimes ago.
Yeah, could have been.
If it feels like it to you, just go with it, I'd say.
Yeah. I'm definitely more like you now, though, in regards to my work. I'm just like, you know,
Yeah.
but I've kind of, I guess I've matured. Well, not matured. I guess, yeah, I was definitely that kind of fairy tale one. That resonates. But now I'm kind of, I don't know, like you've been burned a few times and you just get on with your work. You know, you can trust that. So, but I believe all things are possible. I think it's all coming back around for everybody. So yeah. Very interesting. Thank you.
So, so the other interesting thing about past lifetimes, you can have parallel lives as well.
Mm-hmm.
So what's interesting about one of the last lives that I have memories of as an English king was Edward VII. So Edward VII gave an honor to Togo. See if I get his name right. He's a Japanese admiral, Hachiro, and so I was that admiral, and there's like lifetime after lifetime after lifetime that led up to all that. So I could give you like the stream of lifetimes, you know, that led up to that, Japanese and Korean and so forth, as admirals and samurais and all kind of crazy stuff. But interestingly, Edward VII had Togo come to England because he trained in England. He trained in England, and there's a whole we could go. We're kind of getting a little long on time, but there's a whole story on Togo and his past lives as an English admiral. So
Wow.
yeah. So I mean, that could be another story we could
We could do that
into,
on the next one. Yeah.
There's so much. I mean, there's so much, but there's parallel life there with Togo and Henry VII, because Togo came to England and was given an award by Henry VII. And I was like, and when I found that out, I was like, oh my, because for the longest time, I was like, there's no way you can have like 2 lives at the same time. And then when I finally got that, then it really opened up a lot of doors for me. Like William the Conqueror, his great grandfather was Rollo the Great. You know, there's
King Rollo.
Yeah, King Rollo. Basically Norman King, started Normandy, and he went. So I could just go on and on and on, because he went against the king of Francia at the time, and that king was a descendant of Charlemagne, who I was, and Charlemagne. I remember this so vividly in that lifetime. I remember coming to the coast and the Vikings were raiding, and I looked at that. I was like, those guys are going to kick some butt in the future. I got to be one of those guys. I remember thinking that. So I was Rollo. I came back as Rollo, and came back in and, you know, settled, you know, that area of Normandy. And then eventually my great grandson, William the Conqueror, would go back and conquer England, because he was supposed to be same thing in direct line to be the king of England, and it was usurped again. So he was like, I'm gonna come take it. So he did. It was pretty wild.
Wow.
Well, didn't we get you also could be living don't you have a whole lifetime wife and family on Venus?
Yeah, we came up with all that too. Yeah.
Wow.
That was fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a really fun look what we did there. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily you're here on Earth, but could be out in the galaxy, another galaxy, far, far away. You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Star Wars.
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
Talking of, sorry, go on, Jenny.
Oh, I was just going to tell a little story that I used to have nightmares about this panther-like being. I always thought it was a panther. And I told my parents and described it, and they say I thought a panther was always standing up against a dresser of mine, and I would wake up screaming because it scared me. So this was a childhood thing, and the whole sort of, my parents talked about it, and I remember just vaguely the situation, but I would be scared by this panther. And then Huna described one of the off-worlder groups, entities, as looking like panther-like beings. And so it all clicked that, oh my goodness, I was connecting with this panther-like being. And then a long time ago, maybe 15 years ago, I used to go to this class with somebody I was seeing at the time, this Scorpio guy, and we'd go to this meditation class.
Yeah.
Could have even been 20 years ago now, because it's kind of fuzzy, but it was a long time ago. I was in my late 20s. And yeah, we'd go to this meditation class, and the guy that was running the class would say, why are you even here? He pulled me aside once and he said, why are you even here? He says, as soon as you go into deep meditation, you turn into a panther being and you slink upstairs and you watch my wife make the snack. He goes, you're living a whole nother lifetime. You're a panther. Like he said, panther. And he said, I'd watch his wife, and I just was curious, like a cat. And I would roam around because I was bored, because meditation, he says, you're way beyond this. Like, why are you even here? So I was living a panther life, it sounds like, off-worlder energy, panther beings. So all of that now I'm starting to piece this together. It's just all so fascinating.
Wow, Panther, 82. Black Panther. Black Panther, that film 111, perfection. Interesting. You know, you said
my spirit animal is a Black Panther.
Oh, I just love it.
There you go. 111.
I have a huge painting of them. So yeah, that would make sense that your video, I forget exactly which one, but Michael Jaco video red pilled me originally. And then I just couldn't stop watching them. I'd watch everything you put out because it was easy to understand things. Could be just even the lifetime of, being in each other's company and understanding how each other's think or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could hear it from your videos better than most others, like at the very beginning when I was just first starting to figure shit out.
Figure it out. Figure light out. You said Black Panther is 111 perfection, but also Richard III. So the way you write the third is 111. So
Oh.
Richard III, and then Michael, you said about a wife on Mars. Wife on Mars comes to 153, which comes to Richard III. So that's quite cool.
That's awesome.
That's cool. That's interesting. And you mentioned Star